Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're walking through a deeply touching and honestly pretty heartbreaking narrative that explores loyalty, loss, and the absolute incredible power of a second chance. We're going to look closely at the story of an old friend, a golden retriever whose entire world was just turned upside down and then beautifully restored in the span of just 72 hours. Let's look at the incredible journey of a dog who gave his all, lost everything, and somehow found hope again.
Okay, let's dive into this. 13. You know, this isn't just some random figure. This represents 13 entire years. That's 13 years of a loyal golden retriever named Charlie, protecting, loving, and dedicating his complete existence to one single family. I mean, imagine giving someone your whole life, your absolute devotion, only to reach your senior years and find out that your loyalty just wasn't enough.
We don't have room anymore. Just let that sink in for a second. That was the devastating, completely hollow quote given by the mother of Charlie's family. He wasn't sick, he wasn't aggressive, and he certainly wasn't dangerous. When they surrendered him at the Hope Haven Animal Shelter in Franklin, Tennessee, this was their only justification. He was simply old. And apparently they decided they just didn't have room for an old friend anymore.
Part 1, an old friend left behind. Let's look at the details of that supposedly ordinary morning.
And this brilliantly illustrates the tragic irony of what happened next. The sun was just rising, the shelter volunteers were cleaning kennels, and Charlie had absolutely no idea what was about to happen. In fact, when the family pulled into the parking lot, his tail was happily wagging. His eyes were tired and he had white fur around his face. Sure, but he thought he was just going on a fun family outing to the park. The middle-aged couple and their teenage son arrived in a large silver pickup truck with plenty of space. Yet, their excuse to the receptionist was simply, "We're moving, no room anymore." The volunteer didn't argue, she had heard every excuse imaginable, but this stark contrast highlights how heartbreakingly disposable Charlie had become to the very people he loved most. It was just a gut-wrenching moment. After a quick 10 minutes of paperwork where Charlie sat faithfully beside them looking up with the exact same loving eyes he'd had since he was a puppy, the father unclipped the leash. He gently removed Charlie's faded blue collar, the one reading, "Charlie, best friend forever." He literally placed it on the desk, told the volunteer, "We don't need this anymore," and walked toward the exit. Charlie tried to follow, but the shelter leash stopped him. He barked once, softly, not in fear, but in hope. The teenage boy paused at the door, hesitating for just a second, but his father placed a hand on his shoulder and they left. Charlie watched through the glass doors, tail still wagging, completely certain they were coming back. But as the truck drove away, his tail finally stopped.
Part 2, 3 days of waiting. The agonizing passage of time for Charlie in his kennel.
The passage of time in a shelter can be incredibly agonizing, especially for a senior dog who has known only one home and one family his entire life. Let's walk through this timeline of his 72 hours. On day 1, he was left entirely alone, and as we saw, that lifelong wagging tail stopped moving. By day 2, he absolutely refused to eat, spending his time just lying in the exact same corner, watching the front door. And by day 3, volunteer Sarah observed something profound. She whispered to a coworker that she didn't think he was just waiting anymore. He was hoping. He wasn't angry and he wasn't scared. He was holding on to hope for a family that just wasn't coming back.
To really understand the immense depth of his despair, consider this detail from the evening of the first day. The shelter was loud. Every dog barked excitedly during feeding time, except Charlie. His food bowl remained completely untouched. Every single time the automatic doors opened, his tired ears would lift. Every time footsteps echoed down the hallway, his tail would move just once, only to fall right back down when he realized it wasn't his family.
Part 3. The veteran walked in. Let's look at the crucial turning point on that third morning.
At exactly 10:18 a.m., the shelter doors slid open, and the entire trajectory of Charlie's life shifted. Enter Michael Carter. An Army veteran in his early 60s, he walked in wearing a faded U.S. Army cap, carrying a folded leash in his right hand and an old tennis ball in his left. Now, Michael was carrying a parallel grief to Charlie's. He told Sarah he had lost his best friend of 15 years just 6 months prior. He actually told himself he'd never get another dog, but the awfully quiet void in his empty house was just too much to bear.
When Sarah started introducing him to the available dogs, Michael was met with the typical chaotic energy of an animal shelter. He walked past a young Labrador jumping excitedly, a loudly barking husky spinning in circles, and a beagle wagging its tail nonstop. Michael smiled politely at all of them, but, his intuition told him that his specific match wasn't among this high-energy crowd.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast it shows. As Michael walked farther down the hallway, moving away from the barking, he noticed one kennel that was completely silent. Inside that quiet space, an old golden retriever lay with his head resting heavy on the floor. It was Charlie.
Part 4. The perfect match. The delicate moment they finally met. Michael stopped walking. For several seconds, neither of them moved. Then, in a very delicate moment, Charlie slowly lifted his head and their eyes met. Michael quietly knelt outside the kennel. Charlie stood up on slightly shaking legs and walked to the fence, not with wild excitement, but with this quiet, gentle curiosity. He placed his nose right against Michael's outstretched hand. The clinical details on Charlie's kennel card deeply grounded the emotional heartbreak for Michael. Name, Charlie. Age, 13. Surrendered 3 days ago. He looked at Sarah and asked in total disbelief, "They left him?" Sarah sadly confirmed it, repeating that terrible excuse about not having room.
Michael asked, "Take Charlie outside." And out in the shelter garden, an incredibly poignant scene unfolded. An old man and an old dog, both carrying broken hearts, sat together in silence for nearly an hour. Charlie didn't hesitate. He moved carefully, showing his age with every step, and went right up to the wooden bench to rest his head on Michael's knee. Michael gently stroked his brave face, noting how much Charlie reminded him of his old partner, who used to do the exact same thing. When Michael finally stood up, he told Sarah he wanted to take him. Sarah gently warned him, out of pure care and experience, that most people come to the shelter looking for puppies. But Michael's response was both decisive and incredibly loving. Looking down at Charlie, he just said, "I didn't come looking for a young dog. I came looking for a friend." Let's move to and see how this builds. Watch how quickly Charlie's identity is restored here. Step 1, that very afternoon the adoption papers were officially signed. Step 2, Sarah handed Michael the faded blue collar they had kept. Michael turned it over, read the tag, and clipped that best friend forever collar right back around Charlie's neck, stating it was where it belongs. And step 3, the absolute wonderful climax of this day. As they walked out to the parking lot for the very first time since he was abandoned, Charlie's tail began to wag. It didn't just wag once or twice, it kept wagging all the way back to Michael's truck.
Part 5. Who rescued whom? Fast forward 6 months.
So let's fast forward 6 months from that magical adoption day. Sarah, the shelter volunteer, received a letter in the mail containing a photograph. In that photo, Charlie looked completely transformed. He was healthy, his fur had been beautifully brushed, his eyes were bright again, and he was standing proudly beside Michael on a peaceful lakeside dock. On the back of that photograph, Michael had written a handwritten note that truly captures the heart of this entire story. It read, "People said I rescued Charlie. The truth is, Charlie rescued me." It's just a profound reminder of the mutual healing that takes place when two lonely hearts find each other. So the crucial point is perfectly summarized by what Sarah did next. She quietly placed that picture on the shelter's wall and added a small handwritten note beneath it. "Never believe an old dog has nothing left to give." She realized that sometimes the happiest endings don't actually begin with a puppy. Sometimes the dog everyone else leaves behind becomes exactly the friend someone else has been desperately praying for. And that brings us to the end of our explainer today. I really want you to think about Charlie, Michael, and the immense value that senior pets still have to offer long after others have given up on them. Are you willing to give an old heart one more chance to be loved? It's definitely something to think about. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredible story, and I'll see you in the next one.